Hello everybody, and welcome back to the third episode of our brand new fuck. It's not very new anymore, is it?
Still new, but...
Yeah.
At what point do you call a rookie, am I right?
Oh, Fernando Alonso is still technically a rookie. Well, to some.
Then this is still a brand new podcast.
There we go. Welcome back to the third episode, where everything is working smoothly. Kipper, what's it called?
It's called a motor race.
Yes, that's right. We still have a name. Don't know why we'd get rid of that, but oh well, we'll move. As you can probably see, camera.
We're on video now.
Yep.
All evidence has been recorded.
Yes, well, you can now see what we are doing during our recordings. I don't know why you'd want to see that, but oh well, you've got it.
So, if you've been on social media over the past about week or so, you will have noticed a few outlets are spilling rumours regarding the 2026 power unit regulations possibly being scrapped and the current rule set extended to 2028, and then you'll have V10s return.
Now, I do love a good V10, and they sound absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But isn't it a bit late?
I think, yeah. I speak for every F1 fan when I say that we'd welcome back V10s with open arms. But this isn't really the right time for it, because the 2026 rules are pivotal in the growth and sustainability of the sport. We've already got Audi, Cadillac, Ford and Honda. They've all committed to these 2026 regs. Audi has spent around $600,000 buying Sauber, and then a 9-figure investment in their own powertrain and facilities. They've required that much money as well from Qatari investment.
Yeah.
This is a big deal, these 2026 rules. Yeah. And to bin them off would be a huge mistake. In fact, I've actually seen that Audi have responded online to this, saying that they are very clearly against the V10 return.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense why Audi and Cadillac might be so against them, because obviously they're putting a lot of money into this, and they've been promised a false truth, I suppose.
Oh, everyone has.
Yeah. And as nice as it would be to have V10s back in, maybe stick them in the next regulations in like 2030 or 28, whatever. So at least the teams that are coming in, and even the existing engine developers that have been funding these programs for 26, at least they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah, you can't sink that much money into it and then just have it binned off.
Yeah,
so soon. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
It is. I mean,
I'm surprised it's been picked up so much, and it's coming from the FIA side as well. That's
true. Yeah.
I think they're trying to turn around their popularity somehow.
Yeah, but they've done it in the worst possible way.
Yeah, they've not done it in a great way.
They've just kind of pissed off every other team.
They've made it a bit too obvious and gone, yeah, look what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then not really realising the consequences of such.
Yes. What's next? The FIA clampdown on flexible rear wings.
Yes. So everyone by now knows about the FIA clampdown on flexible front wings. That comes in for Spain, round 9. But before the Chinese Grand Prix, they updated the technical directive to clamp down on rear wing flexibility. That's the whole rear wing squatting underneath high loads at the end of straights, and the mini DRS thing. So rather more the mini DRS thing that they were trying to sort out, because they've reduced the slot gap from 2mm to 0.5mm. I think they're giving a tiny bit of leeway for that, given this is the first weekend of it. Interestingly, Williams fell foul of this, which we'll get onto later. Yeah. I mean, it is an issue. I think McLaren have been sort of bending the regs a little bit in that sense, and they've been benefiting a bit from that mini DRS slot that they've been getting. I've seen quite a few clips of that rear wing just sort of bouncing a little bit up, giving them just that subtle edge. But I don't think it'll have too much of an impact. No, not a lot.
It's just teams, the cars will be going a little bit slower down the straights than normal.
Just a tiny little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know why why they need to be so critical on these rules. I don't think it's a safety thing.
Yeah, I think it's more just to, like, you've got to draw the line somewhere, so you might as well draw the line. And I think if they just let teams be as expressive as they want, some teams will play like full foul to compared to other teams, and some teams will be having a massive gap in their rear wing, and then others might be having a little bit of a smaller gap, because some teams will want to be quicker on the straights and some teams will want to be quicker in the corners. So yeah, I can see for competitive reasons maybe.
Yeah, leveling the playing field. I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah.
FIA F1 Academy has returned this weekend. I don't know very much about it.
Neither.
I know that all the drivers are female, and a lot of the teams are F2, F3 teams.
Yeah.
And each F1 team has their own academy driver and will drive with that respective livery, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with F1 Academy, obviously, I know it's there to support sort of introduction of women into motorsports, especially at the pinnacle of F1, and giving them the opportunity to show that they are actually good drivers. But I don't feel like it does that properly. I know, what's her name?
Abby Pulling? Or...
That's it, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I know Abby Pulling has been put into...
It took me ages to figure that out. I was like, I'm not going to search it up.
Yeah. Abby Pulling's obviously got a F3 seat, I think it is.
She's in the GB3 championship for Rodin.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we saw her the other day then.
Yeah. We'll get on to that in a bit.
Because
that was an interesting little excursion we took.
That was. Well, I guess we move on to a bit more of a somber note. Eddie Jordan passed away at the age of 76, just before I think it was...
It was last Thursday. Yeah. I've got a little piece here that I just wrote. So, Eddie was a significant man in Formula One history, and he was considered one of the last great team principals of a bygone era of independent teams. He had a way with words, and he had a way of haggling for the best deals to ensure his team's survival. He's the reason DHL is yellow.
Is he?
Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah. When his Jordan team signed a sponsorship deal with DHL for the 2002 season, DHL had been using white branding. The Jordan car was famously bright yellow, and Benson and Hedges made it a rule that it must always be yellow.
Oh,
wow. However, through a meticulously crafted package of images Eddie brought to a board meeting with DHL, he managed to convince them to change from white to yellow to go with the Jordan livery. And to this day, DHL is still yellow.
That's crazy. I never knew that. Wow.
Although, my favourite Eddie Jordan moment has to be when Damon Hill won that famous race in Spa in 1998. And he was dancing around the paddock like a madman. That's the type of character and personality that F1 is going to miss going forwards. And, everyone who knew the man loved him, and that will continue for many more years.
Yeah, you don't see Christian Horner dancing around the paddock, do you?
No, not these days.
No. But he was actually one of the better Sky Sports pundits as well. I really liked him as a pundit. He gave quite a unique...
I enjoyed his bits.
Yeah.
I enjoyed his bits on BBC Sport from that 2011 to 2015 stretch. I always thought he was just so much funnier.
Yeah.
He was had a lot more personality than most of the F1 personnel you'll see around these days. Off to China.
Yeah.
China.
It was a bit of a boring one, I think.
It was a sleeper, quite literally.
Yeah.
For me.
We both fell asleep about halfway through the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't watch it together, but...
No. To clarify, this was in two different rooms in two very different places.
Do we start with free practice then?
Yep. Go for
it. Because it was a sprint weekend, we didn't get 3 practice sessions. Was it just 1 or 2?
Just 1, wasn't it?
It might be just 1 now.
I think it was...
I don't really understand the sprint format of the weekend.
They used to do
super well.
A practice on the Friday, sprint quali on the Friday, then the sprint race on the Saturday morning, and then a second practice on the Saturday afternoon, and then quali on the did they do quali on the Sunday morning and then quali the race on the Sunday afternoon? Was that how they did it? So I remember there used to be a second practice, but I don't know when they did it.
There is no second practice according to this.
No, not anymore. No.
That's quite crazy, actually.
Yeah.
I can't remember when they got scrapped that.
No, I don't know. Sprint weekends just always, because they used to do it. So they did practice, sprint quali, then sprint as the qualifying, and then they'd do a practice session, and then they just do the race with the sprint as the quali results. But they just change it all the bloody time. So yeah, so it's an interesting format for a weekend, but
yeah. Regardless, we still start with practice in the weekend. The new track surface led to high graining, which teams found quite difficult because if you've only got one practice session, a lot of your data is quite limited going into the sprint race. And we saw that later on. We saw a lot of graining and tyre issues throughout both races. Williams was fined €50,000, 40,000 of which was suspended until December for failing to supply an SD card for the camera the FIA used to monitor rear wing flex in practice.
That's quite funny.
Bit of an oops from Williams. Thankfully, only 10,000 comes from the bank account. Yeah, they didn't realise that they had to supply an empty SD card.
I mean,
for the FIA's camera.
Yeah, that does seem a little bit silly.
Yeah, I thought it makes sense. I thought it makes sense that FIA would have their own SD cards for their own cameras.
Well, if you're going to put a camera in, you can't really expect other people to I guess maintain it and operate it. Yeah, fair enough. Because it is in their car after all. But you'd at least expect an SD card to be provided. It's like when you open up a pack of a camera and it's just the camera, and you're like, well, I can't use this because I don't have an SD card.
Yeah. It's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah. But I mean, at least it's only a 10k fine. Why would they suspend it? It's barely anything to the team.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of all these suspended fines going on. So that 40,000 is suspended until they repeat the offence or something similar, and then that 40,000 is also put in.
So they've just given them a 10k fine, but called it a 50k one, but just sort of knocked off the 40k until
sort of. Yeah,
that's just.
It's here's a 50 grand fine, but you'll only need to pay 10,000 with good behaviour.
Right, yeah. That is the most FIA thing to do.
Sprint quali. Lawson had another stinker.
Surprise.
Oof. Yeah. Not looking good.
I mean, yeah, he just doesn't seem to quite be able to get the car to work, and I don't know whether that's a car thing or a driver thing, but given the fact that Red Bull have burnt through second drivers quite a lot, I think it might be a car thing.
It's interesting to me that Lawson really is nowhere in the Red Bull, and that theme continues through the weekend.
Yeah,
I just find I can't believe that he'd actually be more competitive in the sister team than in the actual car. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, I quite like the post that somebody put on Twitter saying, for scientific purposes, can we put Verstappen in a RB for one quali session just to see where it's at?
Yeah.
Because I honestly think he might actually set a quicker lap time than he would in a Red Bull. I think maybe... No, I'm being stupid here, aren't I? Because I think in the end...
It's an interesting theory. I'd like to see Verstappen in the Racing Bulls.
That would be quite cool.
I think you'd get quite a lot out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how logistically they could do it, because I don't know if they're allowed to just sort of slap him in a Racing Bulls for a weekend, see what happens.
Yeah, that's true. He's kind of in an important place right now.
Yeah.
They can't just give him up for a weekend.
No. Tsunoda in Q3 again.
Yeah.
Making it through.
Tsunoda's on fire.
He's
doing it at the right time as well.
Yeah, to be fair, he is in tune with that car very nicely. And I think although a lot of people have suggested he should go to the Red Bull, I feel like for his personal sake, it might just be worth staying in that Racing Bulls.
Destroy his teammates.
Yeah.
First.
and then maybe move somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does certainly seem quite in tune with that car, and certainly that's probably the best place for him right now.
Yeah, I think his stock is highest in the Racing Bulls when he's leading the team, when he's showing he's capable of the Red Bull. But I think as long as he doesn't set foot in that Red Bull yet, especially while this Red Bull is just all over the place, I think he's in a pretty good place. To go off elsewhere to Aston Martin, Haas, Alpine, I don't know who wants him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Lewis Hamilton took a surprise pole position over Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I have no idea. That one was quite a surprise, and it was really close. They were only separated by 0.080.
That's
those three.
Impressive.
So yeah, really fine margins. Brilliant lap by Hamilton. I didn't watch it because I didn't watch sprint qualifying, but it was a brilliant lap by him. I think Norris had to abort his lap at some point.
Yeah, he dived into the
pits.
pits.
And that's why he was down in, was it 6th or something? 5th?
Yeah, something like that.
It was definitely off the front 2 rows, which is
surprising
considering the pace advantage they had in Australia.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the McLarens quite transferred the pace. I think quali pace majorly through to China, which was a bit of a shock, really.
Yeah, Norris himself said the car is difficult to drive.
Did he?
Yeah, he said it was difficult this weekend. Not quite finding the right balance. I think that McLaren is turning into a bit of a 2023 Red Bull. As long as it's in the sweet spot, in the zone, it's really, really quick. But if the balance isn't quite there, it's a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, well, that could be quite interesting. Obviously, in the race, he had a bit of a brake issue towards the end, which was weird. But we'll cover that one later.
It seemed that McLaren just went a little bit backwards in sprint qualifying. I think they were topped SQ1 and 2, and then in SQ3 it kind of fell apart a bit for them.
Yeah.
Whether that's an operational thing, whether that's just a car thing, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess everybody will have their own running modes, at least for the different qualies, and obviously when you're in SQ1 you're not too bothered whether you're first or second, you're bothered that you're not 15th or something like that. So there's probably more pressure being put on the top spots at the end of the quali sessions.
Then we move on to the sprint race.
Yep.
No. I don't really remember much of the sprint race, so it's a good thing that we wrote notes. Norris bottle and radio message.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had quite a poor start and was just kind of like there and didn't really get on very well.
Ferrari got their money's worth.
Oh yeah, somehow
with Hamilton, lightning quick.
Yeah, he seemed to just shoot off at the start, and that was kind of it.
Shot off at a brilliant pace at the start, opened up a gap, and then the gap came down. I think they were going through a graining phase, quite a heavy graining phase at that point, and then it opened up again.
Yeah.
Tyre saviour Lewis Hamilton is back. It was quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you've got an absolute shitbox, you need to have at least something going for you, so...
Yeah.
At least he can still save his tyres. Yeah, Leclerc, he was third for a little bit, I think, and then Russell caught him, I think it was.
Can't really remember. I feel like the top 3 was Hamilton, Verstappen, and someone. Piastri? They were really close at one point when the grading was going on, and then Hamilton extended that lead. Hamilton ended up winning by nearly 7 seconds.
That's quite impressive, considering where that Ferrari was last weekend.
Yeah. I think that Ferrari is quicker than it shows sometimes.
Yeah, I think strategy was probably the biggest downfall. I think in both race weekends.
Yeah.
Obviously they got lucky because it was a sprint race, so they didn't have to make a pit stop. But yeah, I think
as soon as the pit stop variable comes into play, Ferrari is just
that's something that they do need to fix. If
don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. Somehow they're consistently really mid with that strategy calls, but yeah, we'll talk about what happened in the race as well, because again, strategy let them down a little bit there, I think.
The rookies were quite entertaining.
Yeah, they were going at each other.
There was quite a good midfield battle all weekend, actually. during the sprint and during the main race. Just a train of midfield cars, and they were really going all over the place.
Yeah.
Position-wise, and then we had a few incidents later on. We had Doohan spinning. Did he spin on his own, or did he hit someone, didn't he?
I think he did, yeah.
Or got hit, by the way, I can't remember.
I can't remember exactly what happened.
It was early hours of the morning, guys.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. Not many memories.
We couldn't really remember a lot going on.
Nope.
Regardless, I think it was an alright sprint race.
As they come, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think tyre wear had more of an effect than we see in most sprint races, thanks to the abrasive surface and very high load corners, turn 1 and 2, 13, a lot going on.
Yep.
Dirty air seemed like it held a lot of people back, but if you could really time your runs right and you really took care of the tyres, you had a big advantage later on in the stints, and that came... It worked for some people and didn't work for others, I feel. In the main race especially, when tyre wear was more of a factor.
Yeah.
Qualifying.
Yeah.
The real qualifying. the Grand Prix qualifying. Doohan in trouble.
Yeah, he doesn't look great, does he?
Yeah.
Just doesn't seem to be settling in that well, I think.
I think his pace is good, but he just is very inconsistent at the moment.
I think in the races he seems to be all right. He certainly held up, was it Hajar in the race quite well. Just doesn't seem to be going anywhere though.
Yeah. It's just a rough introduction to Alpine, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't see a rookie coming into Alpine and being any different to that.
No, that's fair. Yeah, the team doesn't seem very...
Team's not galvanised very well.
Yeah.
Especially on that side of the garage. I think they know their priorities. Ranko Colapinto.
Not yet.
Not yet, but... Oh, there is some Colapinto news to come up, actually.
There is,
yeah. Yeah. What the fuck is Lawson doing?
I don't know anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what's wrong.
I was willing to put Australia behind us.
Yep.
Because it was wet, and it was difficult, and it was his first race. And then I was willing to put the Chinese sprint behind us, because you've only got one practice session, and then you're straight into qualifying, and then the sprint race. I expected a second go at qualifying for the weekend to go a bit better than last place.
And it didn't.
Was it last place? I'm pretty sure it was last place.
Yeah, it was last place.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with Lawson. I don't know whether it's mentality. It's probably the car mixed with a few other factors at least, but it just doesn't seem to be working for him. And I think we've said this before, Red Bull was probably not the best place for him, but he was chucked in there anyway. And he's like, who's going to say no to a Red Bull seat?
Yeah. Everything that's going wrong in the Red Bull Academy is Red Bull's fault.
Yeah.
I don't think Liam Lawson's performance is exclusively Liam Lawson's fault.
No.
If Verstappen was in last place, that would be Verstappen's fault.
Yeah.
But this is the second driver, the second seat. The car it's not built for Max Verstappen, but it's set up in a way that Max Verstappen prefers, and he can get more out of the car. And I just don't know what's up on Liam Lawson's side of the garage. Yeah,
it's just not working. And I mean, obviously we saw with Checo towards the end, it was his confidence that was quite significantly knocked down, and I think that's kind of happened to Lawson now. In the interviews, he just doesn't seem to be as happy and kind of cheerful as he was in his previous ones.
Yeah.
And I think he's sort of realised now that this was probably a bad idea.
I think there's a more rough introduction to F1 than Alpine, and that is Red Bull.
That's Red Bull. Yeah.
I think, like you said, I think it's pretty similar to Perez. It's a confidence thing. And so early to lose confidence...
That's not good.
It's not good.
No. That's probably going to take a long time to fix, and depending on how long he stays in this Red Bull, might not be fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes, because there are now quite a few rumours going around.
A lot of question marks.
On who is going to be in that second Red Bull seat come Japan in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, I guess it's probably just a waiting game to see whether random people on Instagram are actually lying or not.
Yeah. Never always trust the bums on the internet. Be skeptical. Norris aborted another lap in Q3.
Yeah. He just doesn't seem to like China, does he?
I think the car is a bit difficult to drive.
Yeah.
And that's weird that it's Norris and not Piastri. I'd think that Norris would have a slightly better tuning to the car, you know.
Well, yeah, he's been in the team for 6 years now.
Yeah. I thought he would have had the confidence to work out what's going on and right itself, but obviously whatever issue it was has reared its ugly head again in qualifying 3, and it was Piastri who took pole.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite funny.
I would say it's unexpected, but it's not really given the McLaren. But it's really nice. It's a nice surprise to see Piastri on pole.
I mean, he looked all right. He looked better than Norris for the entire weekend up to quali.
Absolutely.
And I think it was kind of expected that if there was going to be a McLaren that did well, it would be Piastri, because he just seemed quite rapid, I suppose, in that car. And I mean, yeah, Piastri just seemed to get it going where Norris just couldn't, and you know, it makes the title fight a little bit better, because now McLaren might not have to prioritise Lando, because the gaps?
Ooh, that's a good point.
12 points, I want to say. Norris is on 44 points, Verstappen's on 36, Russell is on 35, and Piastri is on 34 points.
Yeah, he did have a bit of a stinker in Australia. That's dragged him down a bit, but
yeah,
it's great that he hasn't lost confidence.
No,
He's very much just kept his head held high, quietly grinding away, getting on with it, and he bared the fruits of that labour in China.
Yeah, absolutely class race from him, but again, we'll talk on that a bit later when we move on to the race. Russell splitting the McLaren,
Russell on the front row is something I didn't quite expect to happen.
Now, you see, I did. That was the one prediction I got right the entire weekend, that Russell would split the McLarens. And, yeah. I mean, I think we've said previously, you said before that the Mercedes does like a colder track. And I think China was a little bit colder this weekend. Probably. But certainly the Mercedes seemed quite well, although Antonelli didn't quite do as well as he did last weekend, I think, but still somehow managed to get driver of the day.
Yeah, it was a quiet weekend from Antonelli, I think, but that's what you need as a rookie.
Yeah,
you don't want to be making headlines like you're doing, and you're Lawson. You just want to quietly get
chill out.
Even if it's just a 7th or 6th place, it's good experience for him.
Yeah.
It's good experience in terms of F1, it's good experience with the car, build your confidence, and, I think we'll see a bit more from Antonelli later on in the season. The race, this was interesting. So I got home from work at about 2 a.m, because I do, and I thought, well, the race is at 7.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could go to sleep, but it's not going to be very long. I will just stay awake, watch the Grand Prix, and then take a nap afterwards, catch up on sleep. That didn't quite work out, so I ended up falling asleep while watching it. I watched the grid walk. I watched Martin Brundle interviewing a unicorn.
What?
Yeah, there was a man dressed in a unicorn suit, and he was really, really happy to be there.
To be fair, that doesn't surprise me.
And I watched that, and I think they were literally gearing up to start the formation lap, and I think I just knocked myself out. I just fell asleep. Woke up about mid-race, fell asleep again, and then I had to catch up on the race at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
When they replayed it.
Yeah, I managed to wake up for the race somehow. I don't know how. I'm not very good at waking up earlier on in the morning, especially when there's nothing really pressuring me to get up. But somehow I managed to wake up 10 minutes before, whacked it on, saw the lights out, saw the first lap, and fell asleep. So I couldn't tell you too much. about how I saw it live.
Yeah, so
Luckily, there is a YouTube channel called Formula One, and it shows the highlights,
wow.
which I don't listen to because I don't like the commentators.
Yeah, that's true. Not a fan of Alex Jokes.
No, he's a good commentator when you've got the mute button on, I think.
I did watch the full race when they reran it on Sky Sports, and it was kind of a quiet race as far as, compared to Australia. We'll say that it was a slow burner. Hamilton and Leclerc got together on the first lap.
Yeah, I saw that.
Leclerc bounced over the curb on the inside of turn 1/2 and nicked that front wing end plate on Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton got away without a puncture. Leclerc got away with wing damage and seemed perfectly fine.
Yeah, it seems like you can just lose that end plate and just carry on perfectly fine without... I know he was having a bit of difficulties towards the end, especially when the tyres started to lose it a little bit. Obviously, you'd feel that difference going around a very long corner, and you need all the downforce in the world.
Yeah, I thought it would have a bigger effect at China than, say,
Austria,
Baku, or I don't know.
Well, you need a lot of downforce in Baku, to be fair.
Depends how you set up the car. Do you want that middle sector pace, or do you want
the long straight pace?
The long straight pace.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he seemed to deal with that pretty well.
Mm.
There was another exchange on the radio saying, use less turn to curb, please. Leclerc said, nope. That was his honest reaction. He said, nope. That was quite funny, actually.
Yeah.
It just seems like the Ferrari engineers are just doing the dumbest things.
Well, they see, like, I don't know what the Ferrari
I
engineers...
feel like there's an attitude problem.
Yeah.
I feel like the exchanges between the Ferrari drivers and their race engineers this year is odd. It's on a knife edge.
Yeah, I don't know, because it doesn't seem like there's that much pressure, at least, on the Ferrari drivers to perform. But
no, not really. Where the car is, I think they're doing a fine job.
Yeah, and obviously it's got the pace to maybe win the odd race like Hamilton did in the sprint, but obviously it's not going to be at the top competitive all the time. But I don't know whether they're artificially putting pressure on themselves to just try and be at the front all the time, and whether that's kind of just resulting in everybody within the team just sort of being quite annoyed at themselves and each other. But yeah, it is quite funny to watch, though, to be fair.
True. It makes good Instagram memes.
Yeah, it does.
After the race. Nothing else really happened. There was a good midfield fight, actually. Haas got double points in the end.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
That was quite fun. Lance Stroll finished in the top 10 again.
Alonso DNFing and Stroll getting in the points. Just what's going on at Aston Martin?
It's crazy.
It's like they just switched the two.
I saw an Instagram commenter with a tinfoil hat. He said, Aston Martin are deliberately sabotaging Fernando Alonso to get Max Verstappen in next year. And I was like, well, where's Lance Stroll's results coming into this? Because I have no idea what's going on. The Aston Martin looked pretty bad in pre-season. I think all the media outlets were touting them as like the 7th, 8th, 9th quickest car.
Yeah.
But Stroll has not finished outside the top 10 yet.
And it's
this season.
It's like Stroll's become a good driver.
He's more competent.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, Lance Stroll, I was not familiar with your game.
Oh no, he still will. This is like he's used up his like 2 good races in a season at the first 2 to make everybody question, is this guy actually all right or not? And then next race, mark my words, barrier.
Where's next race? Japan.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got a great track record there. Last year he famously said, it's like a different category. That never gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though.
It is. I mean, I'm shocked that he's competent.
I'm shocked that he and Aston Martin have galvanised 3 top 10s this season. 6th, 9th and 9th.
It's not bad.
Yeah. there are some strategy errors going on though in that midfield.
Quite a lot.
What the fuck is Racing Bulls doing? They completely ruined Sonoda's race in Australia.
Yep.
And they've done it again. They tried the 2-stop this weekend.
Yeah.
And they ruined both Sonoda and Hadjar's races.
And to be fair, we should probably also talk about Hadjar has an amazing quality.
Hadjar did well.
He bounced back really
great.
well. And yeah.
Awesome to see it.
Yeah, I know in the race obviously he did fall behind Doohan and was stuck behind the widest Alpine we've seen since Fernando Alonso in 2021.
Real.
Although eventually Doohan did, I think he shoved him off the track and then picked up a penalty for it. So hard racing.
Hard rookie racing.
Yep, which you always love to see.
I did, yeah, I enjoyed that. The midfield battle this year is just great to watch.
It does seem a lot better than it was last year.
It's so close that you can't really tell who's ahead.
Yeah.
Like, is the Aston the best car? Is the Red Bulls, the Racing Bulls the best car?
I think the Racing Bulls have the best car. You just have the worst strategy.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the issue that's letting them down.
That Racing Bulls strategy is just terrible.
It's Ferrari levels.
Yeah.
I think the only problem... they can get away with it a bit this race because it was predicted to be a 2-stopper.
True.
And then everybody kind of realised, oh, these tyres aren't dying as hard as we thought they would be.
Yeah, they had a terrible graining phase, especially on the hards.
Yeah.
But then once they got through that, it was just super consistent.
Yeah.
They could just keep lapping and lapping and lapping.
So I think a lot of teams fell foul to the trap of this graining phase isn't giving up. It just means the tyres are dead now.
Yeah.
So let's just box and get some new tyres in. And it turns out, just a phase.
Just a phase. I'd like to talk about Haas.
You can talk about Haas.
The huge turnaround from Australia, where the car looked terrible. Ollie Behrman did a bottle job a couple times.
A few times.
But they really turned that round.
Yeah.
The car wasn't the slowest. It was back to business for Sauber, unfortunately. And they actually did a pretty good job on strategy. So Behrman started on the hards, went long, got on the mediums at the end, and just fought through. It was so good watching him because in the full race, Sky Sports they just kept flicking back to the to Ollie Behrman's on board as he knifed his way through the midfield pack.
I love how he kept saying ciao after every overtake.
Yeah, apparently he got in trouble for that.
Really?
Well, people on the internet, snowflakes on the internet, thought it was offensive, and they thought it was a bit braggy.
Well,
sorry, he's just enjoying his job.
I was gonna say he's just having fun. Let him be.
But also, ciao means hello. He would have said arrivederci if it was goodbye.
Oh.
However, it was great to see him enjoying his life.
Yeah, he seemed quite happy in that. And I'm surprised he didn't get driver of the day, because I think even Antonelli was surprised that he got a driver of the day.
Yeah, it was a very quiet race from Antonelli that I don't really.
Well, he went from P8 to P8, so
I'm not really sure what the award was for. I can't remember. Did he make a really good overtake or something?
No, honestly, in the radio where Toto came on and just said, "Well done, Kimi, you're the driver of the day," and Kimi just said, "Me?" And then Toto said, "Yeah, I don't know about that one. Must be your looks." So, yeah,
he could be developing a big fan base.
I reckon he is.
I think he's like the next. I know he's been touted as the next Max Verstappen skill-wise, but I think he has all of Italy behind him now.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. It just seems like nowadays driver of the day isn't.
It's a popularity contest.
It
really
is. I think it's
there are occasions where it is absolutely deserved and given to someone who's, sliced their way through the pack or done some exceptional overtakes, or if it's a wet race, they've really shown a lot of skill and pace compared to the others around them. But sometimes it is just a popularity contest.
I guess more in boring races where nobody really can be bothered.
Like this one.
I guess people just thought, nah, we'll just chuck it to him. Although I was quite annoyed. I think it was in Nicholas Latifi's last race. Everybody on the internet says we're going to vote him driver of the day. Just didn't get it.
He didn't get it?
No.
I feel like that was rigged.
Probably it was.
It could have been rigged.
It's usually rigged, probably.
Lando Norris and his brake pedal. I've got a bone to pick
Oof.
with whoever does the F1 TV direction,
Mm.
because I was seething. I was foaming at the mouth yesterday when I was watching it. I was really annoyed that they just kept not replaying, but they kept showing Norris's radio messages over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to listen to the commentary and watch the cars, but every 30 seconds they cut to a Norris radio complaining about his brake, and then Will Joseph having to father him around. I get it. His brakes are, it wasn't affecting him at that point.
No.
It did for the last few laps, but he was actually gaining on Piastri while
Yeah.
actively complaining about this long brake pedal.
I mean, I don't know what they were trying to achieve with that, because a lot of it was just him being guided through what he should do, and then him just saying no, and just sending it anyways, which I respect. And then all of a sudden his brakes just didn't.
It was just so frustrating to listen to, because there's a lot going on in that in that later phase. You had Verstappen catching Leclerc.
Yeah.
You had, Piastri on his way to a really, really well-deserved victory. You had a lot of midfield shenanigans still going on, because Hadjar and Tsunoda had just pitted.
Mm.
They were trying to get back through on the medium tyre, and was it the medium? It might have been hard.
I don't know.
They were trying to get back through on fresh tyres. And every 30 seconds it was just cut into another radio message of Will Joseph saying the same thing pretty much. Oh, you need to take care of the brakes, take care of the brakes. Oh, yeah, I know.
The brake's long.
But why? I don't need to hear this that many times that it becomes such a big feature. I feel like it's definitely aimed at trying to create it's like Drive to Survive, isn't it?
It is.
They're just trying to put it in your face and
trying
say,
to create
look at this drama.
a narrative that something's impendingly going wrong, but they're just pushing it way too much. It's like when you say somebody's got a brake issue, I think a lot of people at face value think, oh, he's got a brake issue. You don't need to tell us 50 more times that he's got a brake issue.
It reminded me of Hungary last year.
Mm.
Just constant radio communication. I don't want to hear it.
That was quite funny though, because it was funny to see the McLaren meltdown.
It was interesting, but at the same time, I wanted to hear the commentary. I wanted to not be interrupted.
You want to hear the expert speak?
Yeah. Well, is Croft an expert? I don't know.
Well, no. Martin Brundle is though. So.
Yeah. I just wanted to watch the race.
Yeah.
I didn't want the radio messages constantly playing.
I think in that situation it would probably be quite handy if they'd popped up on the side what they were saying, but not played the audio.
They did that a couple of times while we were watching other bits. I think Behrman was slicing through the pack still.
Yeah.
Around that time, and there were a couple of little radio messages that flashed up on the side that didn't have audio playing. But it was still a bit like, okay, it's nice to be kept updated like that. I think that's a good way of going about it. But it was the constant breaking of communication.
Yeah.
And stopping what I'm doing to watch Norris going round and complaining about his brake.
I think towards the end it was probably a bit more justified because he was actually losing time and there was a threat of Russell catching him.
Yeah, at the end in the last few laps.
Yeah.
When they did eventually ride on board and you could see he was lifting really early, it was engine braking and everything. Yeah. But I think for the first few laps it was just constantly playing. I was like, I don't need to hear this right now.
That's fair enough.
So the results were not the results.
No.
We had some post-race disqualifications and these were big.
They were.
Hamilton, Leclerc and Gasly disqualified post-race. Leclerc was a underweight issue. And Hamilton was a plank wear issue.
Yep.
I can't remember who it was. One of the Sky Sports guys said it was like half the width of the credit card thing. Or the ID photo.
Yeah.
And wow, that's big. That's really unfortunate.
Thing is, what I want to question is who at the FIA went down to Hamilton's car, looked at the back of his car and thought, that skid plate's too small, and then brought out a tape measure and measured it.
I'm sure they do it. Isn't it random though?
It is completely random. I'm fairly certain.
It's random weighing as well. I think.
It's just like
that's really unfortunate.
You've got to be like a proper knob to go up to an F1 car, look at the rear skid plate and think, that's too small by like a fine margin, and just fucking, here's a little bit for the camera, go down on the floor and just be like, too small, mate, and then just disqualify him because it was too small.
Too small.
It's just like,
oh, Lewis Hamilton was too small. Rip.
Cheers, Kip. Yeah, I was just.
If I had I saw a comment. If I had a nickel for every time Hamilton and Leclerc got disqualified post-race, I'd have 2 nickels.
Yeah, it was quite harsh. I saw the Ferrari statement after it, where they sort of said
that was heartbreaking. Actually, I didn't enjoy reading that.
No,
that was so bad. That was so harsh.
No, they were saying they didn't intend on that to be like illegal, and they didn't intend to gain an advantage from that. I think they said it was the graining on Leclerc's tyres that
he had none left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was that.
Just shaved off all the rubber.
Yeah, so
and not picked up enough, obviously, on the way back.
Yeah, so that's an annoying one for Ferrari fans. And I can understand that that's quite upsetting.
It's a great one for Haas fans.
Oh yeah,
5th and 8th.
You lot got major points.
Yeah. Big up the Haas.
Yeah, you proper made up for the slight mudding in Australia. And then Gasly got disqualified as well.
What was his issue?
Underweight.
I think it was underweight as well.
Yeah, I think he was underweight as well.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't remember where he was running.
Oh, hang on.
But I suppose it was a pretty decent result for Alpine. If it was both Ferraris disqualified and not him, I think there was some good points on the table.
Yeah. Helped out Williams a lot as well, though.
Helped out Williams, yeah. Williams are equal on points with Ferrari, but ahead on countback. Which is mad.
Yeah.
Haas are only 3 points behind Ferrari. Ferrari's on 17 points after 2 races. That's with a win as well.
Yeah.
McLaren are on 78.
I mean, I think the constructors is fairly wrapped up already. The only team that can really challenge McLaren is probably Mercedes or Ferrari if they get a good result. But
so Ferrari need to pull their game together. They need
happening.
To stop the strategy blunders. Because they pitted Hamilton. They'd made Hamilton do a second pit stop during the race. He fell behind Verstappen and could not get back.
Nope.
Verstappen was on a madness in that second stage. He was coming up to Leclerc. He didn't pass him. Didn't have to pass him in the end.
No.
But yeah, it was very good from Verstappen.
Yeah, it was a quiet one from Verstappen, which is very unheard of. But I feel like that's probably going to be the theme for a season, that he's just not going to be involved in picking up points wherever he can. Because it doesn't seem like that Red Bull's got the potential to win a race.
I think it'd be exceptional circumstances, like Australia, because he came close. Something wet, a very driver-focused track. One where Verstappen goes well out, but he goes well out everywhere, really.
That's true.
You basically need a Brazil 2024.
Yeah,
again.
Which is quite a hard thing to rely on every race.
Yeah. Well, Japan is typhoon heavy, I suppose.
I think if there's a typhoon, the FIA might cancel the race. I mean, they usually look at the track, see like 2 millimeters of water, and think, we've got the wet tyres available, but we're not going to use them.
Red flag.
Yep. And then postpone the race for about 2 hours until they realise, oh, we should probably put a race on or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the weather's looking like for Suzuka. Obviously, it's in a couple of weeks.
It's in 2 weeks. There's no point looking now. But we'll probably cover a bit more of that next time. Yeah.
But yeah, I will also say we missed this out when we were talking about the racing bulls. What the fuck happened to Tsunoda's front wing?
Oh yeah.
It just
snapped.
It just didn't want to be on the car anymore.
That really confused me, actually, because on the broadcast we were following. It was Hadjar and Doohan when I think they almost made contact, or one of them got forced off.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay. And then we flicked to a racing bull with a damaged front wing. So I went, oh, Hadjar and Doohan must have collided when they had their little moment.
Yeah.
And then they replayed the moment, and they very obviously did not collide.
No.
They didn't get anywhere near each other. I got really confused. Like, who's got this damage? Is it Hadjar or Tsunoda? And where did they make contact?
Yeah.
Turns out they didn't make contact. Tsunoda's front wing just quite literally, imploded. It just gave up. That's a weird one to see, actually. I don't think I've seen that, like, ever.
No, I can't remember.
Pretty much.
I can't remember anybody's car initiating self-destruct mode and just lopping off a bit of its front wing.
Yeah, it just seemed to just snap.
Yeah.
It wasn't even under a lot of load because he was following an Alpine.
Yeah, it was braking into turn 1, wasn't it?
He was in the slipstream of an Alpine, so there's less load on the wing.
Mm.
It just snapped, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because the front wings are so flexible now that they don't really snap.
No.
Which is odd.
But yeah, that was a strange one. And just looking at it, I was just like, how has it managed to just do that?
I don't think I've ever seen that. It was completely unprovoked front wing breakage.
Yeah.
Other than, like, Nico Rosberg at the 2013 Korean Grand Prix.
That's true. Yeah.
I remember his whole front wing just flopped.
Yeah.
It just started dragging along the floor, and I thought that was insane. But yeah, I haven't seen just a front wing breaking.
To be fair, I think it was in a junior series that I saw one of the car's front wings just come off.
I'd expect that from a junior series.
I think it might have been like F3 or something, but I was watching a clip the other day, and its front wing just sort of came off. You know when they actually put it on, and like how there's that little bit where it connects the two? At that point, the entire front wing just fell off, and it was into like a braking zone. And
so it just went sliding off?
Yeah, it just went sliding off into the gravel. It was quite funny. But yeah, no, I don't think I've ever seen like just a specific part of a front wing just snap and come off.
That is quite interesting, considering that they're deliberately made to be flexible.
Yeah.
That's something I'd expect after round 9 when they make them deliberately harder.
Yeah, when they're a bit more
brittle, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, should we move on to your many series that you watch?
The many series that I watch. So, F1 Academy returned this weekend, as we mentioned earlier. I didn't get to watch the races, purely because Sunday was an interesting day of strange scheduling. But I can tell you that Maya Vug took pole position, driving the Ferrari liveried MP car. That seemed cool. Alicia Palmowski won race 1 in her Red Bull liveried Campos. And Prema Racing's Dorian Pan won race 2.
I couldn't tell you too much about F1 Academy.
I absolutely did intend to watch it as well. It was just odd timing for me.
Yeah, a lot of this weekend was quite odd timing.
Because I also watched NASCAR last night.
Oh yeah.
Which happened at the same time as IndyCar last night. But I decided to watch NASCAR because it does take 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a bit of a longer one.
Yeah. Speaking of NASCAR, Kyle Larson took his first win of the year in the NASCAR Cup Series last night at Homestead Miami Speedway. It was heartbreak for Alex Bowman, who started on pole and almost won, but gave up the lead late with a handful of laps to go when he hit the wall.
Oh, that's never ideal.
Well, Homestead Miami is an interesting track because the fastest way around it is to go all the way around the outside, right up against the wall. It's got what's called progressive banking. So at the bottom of the racetrack, it's much shallower, which is great because then you can dive down low to get past someone. And then at the top end of the track, the banking's a little bit steeper. That's better for your tyres because you don't have to turn as much. Yeah. So the fastest way around, especially later on in a tyre stint, is to go right up against the wall. Yeah. And there's a couple of drivers, Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, who are really, really good at keeping dead close to the wall without hitting it. Kyle Larson did hit the wall a lot last night, actually, but he got away with it. He was just scraping it with the rear right. Damn. There's quite an art to it, actually. And he managed to take advantage of that and win. It was heartbreak for Ryan Blaney as well, as his engine blew up in a spectacular fashion later on in stage 3. He did dominate the day. He led about 124-ish laps of, I think it was about 200, 250. Yeah, that was quite disappointing to watch. That's his second engine failure in 3 races.
Wow.
Which is quite bad.
That is quite bad.
Yeah. What else happened at the weekend? WRC Safari Rally Kenya. An interesting storyline from that was the drivers protesting against the FIA swearing ban. I quite enjoyed making an article about this. They decided to sort of take a stand against the FIA swearing ban by not commenting in the post-race interviews or speaking in their mother tongue, which is their home language. The protest came after Adrian Formeau was controversially fined €10,000 plus a 20,000 suspended fine for inappropriate language during a stage, like an end of stage interview in Sweden. He said, "We fucked up yesterday," or something like that. He got fined for that. The rally drivers came together and created the WORDA, the World Rally Drivers Association. They came together and posted a statement, I think last week, saying, basically, the GDPA statement.
Yeah.
GPDA, about what the fuck are you doing, FIA? We're not kids. You don't need to do that. This is a high intensity sport. You can't expect us to act in perfect accordance all the time, especially immediately following a high performance stage. And they also called for more clarity on where these fines go, where these monetary fines are actually being funded, because it's very unclear. The FIA are quite cloudy on where those fines go.
Yeah.
Where that's being put in. But yeah, they also talked about how disproportionate the fines are. $10,000 or euros for a rally driver, especially if you're a part-timer or lower down, so lower in the ranks. That's a lot of money.
That is quite a lot of money.
And this is a point that I like to make regarding lower Formula Series. If you're an F2 or F3 driver, you get caught with a swearing fine, that could literally end your career.
Yeah.
10,000 is a lot of money for a junior driver. And they don't have a lot of money anyway. I mean, we saw in F2 last year numerous drivers drop off the grid due to financial problems. So yeah, I really think it's quite a big issue, and I'm glad that the rally drivers are taking a stand as well as the F1 with such a high-profile sport. I think it's good to get that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened in F1 at least. I know Verstappen obviously had his little fun and games in an FIA interview where he just didn't really answer very, very much, and that was quite funny. But I feel like, yeah, I respect the rally drivers quite a lot for just sort of saying, you know what, fuck 'em, no. And yeah, I'm glad that somebody is actually putting up a fight to the FIA, because I feel like if you're going to be the adjudicating body of a sport, a lot of sports, you should probably have a certain amount of checks and balances in place.
Yeah.
To stop you from doing ridiculous stuff like fining people that barely make enough money to stay in a sport a lot of money because they swore once, and you can censor that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of interviews are embargoed. I guess a few live ones, yeah.
The live ones, I think, is the issue, like press conferences and things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, F1 Kids exists for a reason. Right?
Yeah, that's for the kids.
Yeah.
If you don't want kids watching, if you don't want kids to hear swearing, you've made a separate channel for them.
Exactly.
Like, surely you should allow the one that's made for adults to contain adult themes such as swearing. It's like that seems like a given that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you should just allow them to do that, and then with the team radios, like they bleep those out. Like, that's not a problem. It's I think I saw a clip of Lando Norris swearing in the cool-down room, and Max Verstappen turning to him going,
that was the funniest thing ever. I loved that clip.
But the audio wasn't actually picked up, so
thankfully.
I don't know, it'd be quite funny to see Lando Norris get fined. But yeah, so I feel like it's very silly of the FIA to introduce this. I get they want to protect kids, and It's fair enough that...
Yeah, it's fair enough if you want to expect athletes to be professional.
Yeah.
But, I think... I can't remember who made this point. Was it Vettel or Verstappen or something? He made the comparison that if you strapped a mic to a football player's shirt while he was playing, would you expect him to just say all good, nice things? It's the same thing as that. Immediately after a race, having been interviewed, and WRC, you're doing 160 miles an hour on dirt roads. It's ultra intense.
Yeah.
You don't want a mic in your face, and you have to expect, and you have to, be prepared to be absolutely perfect in PR about your response. If something bad happened, let them express it.
Yeah, and I feel as well when you've got an international series with a lot of people from various different countries where it's a lot more customary to swear.
Oh, yeah.
Because especially with, like, Verstappen, he comes from the Netherlands where swearing is a lot more
They do it on the TV broadcast.
Exactly, yeah. On Dutch media, they swear quite a lot. And I think even on Dutch media, Verstappen was shown drinking, which you don't really see that on Sky Sports.
No.
So I feel like when you've got people coming from all over the place, and, like, you look at Kimi Räikkönen from Finland, like,
They're quite lax.
Yeah. He doesn't speak a lot, but when he does speak, it's usually using a swear word. So I feel like when you've got the sort of multicultural sport like rally or F1, people are accustomed to various different things. And I feel like you've got to sort of include the fact that sometimes they will swear because they're just used to doing that anyway. So, yeah, I feel like it's a bit harsh from the FA to do all this stuff.
Something I find weird about it as well is that this all comes from the FIA. They're the sporting body, the governor. I don't know why it's not come from Formula One management themselves.
Yeah.
The ones who broadcast everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the ones putting out the media, then you'd expect they're the ones regulating what gets put out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does feel a bit strange.
Just thought that's a bit weird.
Yeah, it does feel a bit strange that the guys that are making all the regulations for the sporting aspect of it are now saying, cannot swear.
No. Should we talk about something that we did together?
Oh, we could do,
Yeah. We mentioned this earlier about Abby Pulling in GB3. We actually went to watch a bit of GB3.
Yeah.
Testing at Donington Park last week, Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was quite interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we sort of popped up there to go see cars go round track, which is always good fun.
I did enjoy that as well. Yeah.
But we saw a variety of series. It was GB4 as well.
GB3, GB4, which for those who don't know, including myself, before we went, is sort of the next step before British F4, which is quite a major pathway into Formula 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to see quite a variety of drivers. We had males, females. They're all a lot younger than us, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that's a fact I really had to come to terms with on that day. I was like, look at that kid.
Yep.
Fuck's sake. Yeah, and it wasn't just GB3 and GB4.
No.
We were watching some, I think, British GT.
Yeah, it's touring cars, yeah.
Touring cars, Ginetta Juniors. It was a testing day.
We even saw Lightning McQueen.
We saw Lightning McQueen. It was a little legend car. That was quite cute.
That was quite funny.
It was very fast.
And really nice sounding.
And sounded great, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just quite funny, actually, to watch something so small going so
fast.
Yeah,
you see, like... you see, like, the proper big McLarens and Aston Martins just flying down.
Yeah.
And then you just see Lightning McQueen pootling along behind him.
You say pootling? I think he had quite a bit of pace.
Yeah, he had a lot of pace. He was taking out the... I think he's what they're called, what you said before.
Ginetta Juniors?
That's it.
Yeah.
He was actually taking them on quite a bit. Yeah, there's a few of those.
That was almost scary, actually, the pace difference between some of the cars on track.
There was a bit of concern.
The GT3s and the Ginetta Juniors were very, very different.
Yeah.
I thought at least one... I thought we were going to saw a massive crash, to be honest.
Yeah, fair play to the drivers. I'll say that.
I bet they had a very, very clear briefing to say, Juniors, keep your line.
Yeah.
And, do not move across when there's a GT behind you, because they will go from 100 meters back to up your arse in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They sounded amazing.
Mm.
Everything that ran on that day sounded great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I don't know about the GB cars. They were a bit whiny.
Some of them, yeah. The GB4s, the little ones, had quite an odd backfire when they upshift. I mean, it sounds alright. I mean, the F2 cars do that and they sound brilliant.
Yeah, I think the F2 cars are a bit more rumbly though.
Yeah. But I suppose in a lower formula.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Indeed.
It was quite just nice to watch them driving round. We stood on the infield at one point watching them go down the hill, back up the hill.
Yeah, through Faco Rouge.
I got one of the cameras out. I got one of these cameras out, and I got one of these cameras out and recorded a bit. Yeah.
That was quite fun. It did get a little bit boring at the end of the day, but I suppose there's only so many times you can watch a car go around a weird circle and enjoy it.
True. And finally, one more thing to talk about was last night's IndyCar Grand Prix, which I did not watch because it was on at the same time in NASCAR.
Well, the other problem was that it wasn't on for very long.
No, the Fox had a technical issue.
Oh, what a shame.
Or it might not have just been Fox, actually. I think it was the whole track, because one of our friends talked about it, saying that the broadcast screens at the track went down as well.
Oh, damn.
But the race continued, although nothing important happened.
Yeah.
This was the inaugural Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix, and this Thermal Club circuit looks terrible.
It's horrific.
It looked really I mean, I've drawn better circles. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've seen a lot better track maps. I mean, you showed it to me before we started recording, and it is honestly one of the worst tracks I think I have ever seen.
It just didn't look like a racetrack, really.
No, it looked like you'd slapped about 4 or 5 different circuits all together in one track, and you put all the worst parts of them together.
Yeah.
It's like one of those videos saying creating the worst possible F1 track. I forgot which YouTuber does it, but there's quite a few that they've put out, and they've just made the worst possible F1 track you could think of, and then actually made it into existence and chuck an IndyCar race there.
Apparently they didn't miss much, even though the broadcast was down for 30 minutes. If you were watching in the United States, you got to see a bit of NASCAR, which is really fun. Thank you, Fox, for giving us some more exposure time. Pato O'Ward started on the pole.
That's his first in a while, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Alex Palou won the race, scoring back-to-back wins in the opening 2 rounds of the season.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. That was quite interesting, I suppose, even though I didn't watch it.
No.
I wanted to watch it, but it was at the same time as NASCAR.
Priorities.
Thing is, when I watch NASCAR, I like to watch it on my TV, so I plug in the HDMI cable. But Sky Sports, or the Sky Go app, won't let you play anything on your computer if it's plugged into an external monitor. I've no idea why.
I guess there's a device limit.
Pirating things. Yeah. Because it won't let me screenshot either, or screen record. Not that I was screen recording, but I wanted to screenshot Martin Brundle interviewing a unicorn.
Well, you just take your phone out and take a photo of it.
I could. It was quite funny.
That does sound... I do want to find this clip, because it's one of the many funny things that happens on the grid walk, where it's just a completely random thing happens. It's just,
I'll show you after.
Yes.
And that was about it, really.
That was about it, yeah. It was a bit of a boring weekend for motorsport.
Boring race-wise.
Yeah,
Everything was a bit slow.
Yeah.
This time next week we won't have F1 to talk about.
No,
which is interesting. We'll have to find something to do.
Yeah, we'll finally have our shortest podcast ever. Might actually be below an hour for once.
I mean, there's always NASCAR to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we might as well just go do something at the weekend then. Go to Donington Park and watch something.
I've got a lot of priorities.
No.
Unfortunately so.
I guess I will come in and we will talk about NASCAR.
We'll find something.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Alright, well, I think we'll call it a day there, Kipper.
We will wrap that one up.
Yeah, I'm going to stare directly into this camera.
I hope you enjoyed our faces and our torsos and this white room.
Amazing Verstappen shirt.
Amazing neutral F1 fan shirt.
Yeah, see, Kip's gone neutral. He's kept his options open.
Actually, what am I wearing underneath? Oh, 2015 Red Bull.
He's a Red Bull fan. There we go. It's a Red Bull massive right now.
Red Bull massive.
That is unreal. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. Or watching. We can say watching now.
Yeah, thank you for watching as well.
Yes. Thank you all so much for listening and or watching. And we'll see you next week where we will be covering NASCAR a bit more. And the build up to the
Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah. So
one of the best. I think it's one of my favourites.
Yeah. Well, we'll cover that next time. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later.
Take care.